Damian Lillard will never win a ring. As I pause for dramatic effect, I'm not saying that to be disrespectful in any way. Damian Lillard has worked hard for everything he has got in the NBA. He has turned into one of the best point guards in the league. He has become one of the most exciting point guards in the NBA. Just how fearless he is. Let's not forget his iconic shot against OKC back in 2019. He is in the same conversation with Steph Curry on who can shoot the long ball better. All right, let's go back to the All-Star game this past year when him and Steph Curry were just trading shots and both of them were just splashing threes one step into half court. All right, when you're in a discussion for who can shoot the long ball best, that means you've done something right in your career. And not only that, he has all the accolades, he has all the talent, he has all the attributes. He checks all the boxes on what you want in your franchise point guard. But there's still one thing that is missing from Damian Lillard's amazing career. And that's a ring. That's a ring. Yeah. I mean, people don't understand how basketball is a difficult sport. All right. I could go on and on about that all day, but that's not really what it's about. Damian Lillard came into the league in 2012. Okay. He was not really going to have high expectations for his career. But what made him become who we know as Damian Lillard, or D-Lil, whatever you want to call him, is the 2014 playoffs. He missed the playoffs his first few years, his first two, in fact. And then his first ever playoff appearance came against the Houston Rockets, 2014, where he made that iconic Game 6 shot to send the Rockets, who were considered to be in the Western Conference Finals that year with James Harden and Dwight Howard. They had a squad. But Damian Lillard silenced all the critics with his top of the left key shot with about 0.8 seconds left. Damian Lillard, splash, in, sends Houston home. That is when he bursted onto the scene. That is when we're like, all right, we better take note of this kid. Like, he's here to stay. I mean, for him not even being 3 years into the league and already having a clutch shot like that is truly something that really raised some eyebrows. Now, in the next round after that incredible shot from Lillard, they faced the Spurs, who would go on to be the NBA champions that year in 2014. So it's not bad that they lost to the champs that year. So, first year in the playoffs, again, nothing was really truly expected. So, great first playoff appearance for Damian Lillard for sure. Then we move on to 2015, and they had a first round exit against Memphis. Again, many people just thought, okay, Portland is just there to be there. Nothing really to expect from them, especially in that series against Memphis. So had another great season, but still came up short in the playoffs. Then we move on to 2016, where the Blazers' first round opponent in the 2016 NBA playoffs was the Los Angeles Clippers. Let's not forget, these aren't the Clippers we know of today, but they were still the Clippers. They had Blake Griffin, they had Chris Paul, DeAndre Jordan. It was still Lob City, but it was kind of the tail end of that era. They took him to 7, albeit it took a Chris Paul broken hand to get them past that first round into playing one of the best teams to ever play, the 73-9 Warriors. Now, the good thing about that, well, not a good thing, but an advantage that the Blazers had was Curry was out a few of those games in the playoffs. All right. They lost the first two extremely bad. And then they came back, won game 3 on their home court. And many people thought, okay, now the tide is going to be beginning to turn. Not many people thought they would go out and win that series, but at least take the Warriors to 6 or 7. That's not the case. Curry came back from injury and just went off like he knows how. I mean, the Blazers went out that year in 5. Again, you're playing against the greatest team of our time. You're playing against a team who many favored to go on and win the title. There's not really much expectations. So the first 3 years that Lillard was in the playoffs, he wasn't really expected to go out and contend for a title. Let's go out to 2017, where they faced the Warriors again, but this time they got Kevin Durant on their side, okay? Yikes, everyone get out of the way, because we all know who's winning the title that year. Well, it wasn't even close. All right, Damian Lillard had a few mediocre games, wasn't enough to truly put them over the hump, and they got swept by the Warriors. So you see a little bit of a pattern. They only made it out of the first round once, and that was back in 2016. Twice. It was back in 2014 and 2016. So right away, they can't seem to get over that true hump. Then we go into 2018 where it gets more worse, and Damian Lillard probably has the worst series of his life when they played against the New Orleans Pelicans. If you ask any analyst at the time that the Pelicans were going to win that series, I'm sure all of them would have had the Blazers winning that series, okay? No one thought the Anthony Davis-led Pelicans would even take Portland to a Game 7, okay? Including me. I thought the Blazers were the team to beat out west that year. I know you still had the Warriors, but they were a tough contending team that year. They got swept, and many people were like, wow, is Damian Lillard just not that guy? Is he just not the guy to get the Blazers over the hump? You have CJ McCollum, who's always a bucket, even in the playoffs. But in these years where they kept going to the playoffs, he had CJ as a running mate, and it seemed like CJ and Dame weren't really on the same page. They couldn't get that clutch performance like they could, and that was that. So then 2019 comes around, and this is where they're going Sizzler. Damian Lillard has another outstanding regular season. They go into the playoffs, and they play against OKC. But with Paul George, all right, they play them, and that's when Damian Lillard had his iconic waving the crowd, waving OKC away after he had one of the most clutch shots in NBA history, one of the most iconic shots in NBA history, just between, step back on Paul George, let it fly. Just amazing. Then that really put Damian Lillard on another level. All right, he was already on a good level, but then that shot he made over Paul George just put him at a whole nother level. And then we were talking Sizzler at that point. Then they met the Denver Nuggets, who were the number 2 seed in the West. All right. The West was kind of wide open that year, especially with Kevin Durant being really hurt. The Warriors were on their way to being not so much of a dynasty anymore. So the West was kind of wide open. They went to Game 7 against the Nuggets, and I believe it was Game 4 where that game went into 4 overtimes, and Damian Lillard was able to get the dub for the Blazers. Okay. I mean, it was one of the best series I remember watching. We go to Game 7, and this is make or break for Damian Lillard. If Damian Lillard can get his team to the conference finals, it would be a huge feather in his cap, because now he might actually have a chance to contend for a title that year. But the unsung hero of that series, of that Game 7 against Denver, was CJ McCollum, his running mate, his Robin to his Batman. CJ McCollum was just going off, shooting dagger after daggers. I was like, man, I was going for the Nuggets. So I was just like, CJ, please don't make the shot. Give it to Dame, because Dame wasn't really doing anything in the fourth quarter. But finally, it was just CJ. It seemed like he would just do a dribble, carry it way up here, and just shoot. It was just that much amazing talent of basketball that was in CJ McCollum that day in Denver. And like everyone else in Denver, more heartbreak that day. And the Blazers were off to the conference finals. Of course, they faced the Warriors. Kevin Durant was injured, like I mentioned earlier, so we thought the Warriors would fold under the pressure. Of course, they didn't. The Warriors are still the Warriors, with or without Kevin Durant, and they lost in 4. The Blazers lost in 4. Lillard disappeared. McCollum disappeared. There was not a sighting of an explosion like we're accustomed to seeing from Damian Lillard or CJ McCollum. They led in all 4 of those games after 3 quarters. They led in each and every one of those games. They could have won that series and for themselves, but they just couldn't bring it home. And at the end of the day, that's just sports. That's just how it is. And the Warriors are a better team, whereas the Blazers at that point in time weren't accustomed to being at such a high stake championship level of a game, of a series per se. So fast forward to 2020, the longest season in NBA history. They go on, they play the Los Angeles Lakers. First, they beat Memphis to get into the play-in tournament, and then they defeated Memphis again, which made them the 8th seed. And I remember Charles Barkley calling them the greatest 8th seed to ever play, and they're going to upset the Lakers. And after the first game, you could very well make that argument, because Damian Lillard could not miss in that first game. He would have a screen from Nurkic, and he would come out, just curl, and let it fly from about 2 steps into half court. I mean, I was a little scared. I'm not going to lie. Especially after Lakers lost that first game, I'm like, Lakers might be in a little trouble, but no one was going to stop the Lakers in the bubble that year. And the Lakers landed up winning in 5. Okay, so you guys see a pattern. The Blazers can't get over the hump. A few years in this playoff run, there's been some injuries. Isaiah Collins was hurt in 2019. He wasn't able to play. Nurkic was injured in 2019 and 2020, wasn't able to play. But I'm not saying those are the guys that can help get them over. Even when they were there, they couldn't help the Blazers get over. So it's just a very frustrating point in time. So then we get to this past postseason, the shortest NBA season, it seems like. When the Blazers went on and they played the Nuggets in the first round, they met a familiar foe. Damian Lillard dropped 55 points in one of the games that series, and somehow, someway, Damian Lillard goes out, plays his heart out, and he still doesn't get the respect he deserves in the simple form of a win. It's just that sad. And now their record isn't what we're used to seeing during past seasons. They go on a few runs, they dive a few games here and there, but other than that, Damian Lillard has had many chances to go out and win a ring, and he just hasn't. It's not from talent. It's basically management at this point. The guys around him are good, but they're not the type to go out and win a championship for them, okay? Damian Lillard has everything you want in your point guard, but it's not Lillard's fault to the point where management don't want to put the right guys around him in order to get their city a championship, their first since the 70s. And I don't see Portland even making the playoffs this year if Damian Lillard stays a Blazer. But there is some rumblings. I don't know how true this is, but there is some rumblings and rumors that the Lakers are going to do a 3-team trade with themselves, Portland, and New Orleans to send Westbrook and THT to the Pelicans in exchange for Damian Lillard, which will send like Brandon Ingram and I think Jackson Hayes and a 2027 first round pick to the Pelicans. All around, it'd be a great trade for all three teams. But if Lillard wants to win a championship, he needs to get out of Portland because the management is not doing him no good. It's not working out between him and Chauncey. I know Chauncey Billups is still having a few of the, first-year coaching jitters, and I still got to learn this and still got to learn that. But the management isn't doing him any good. If he wants to go out and win a ring, his only chance will be going to LA. And that's just a fact. Please give me a like and subscribe. Comment on if I should do more basketball videos, if I should just go over the games. Most of all, you guys better stay safe. It's windy out here in Pueblo, so you guys better not fly away. Try not to fly away. All you females with your eyebrows and eyelashes, y'all better Gorilla Glue them because, this wind is dangerous. Sorry about my dogs in because I swear I saw one of them in the air. But nonetheless, you guys stay safe, stay healthy. Most of all, keep it 100. I'm out.